So you got 4 workouts covering the whole body over a 6-day period. Having said that, you got to be flexible. If you need an extra day for recovery, then take an extra day. So that'll become 4 days over 7. Some people may need even more. You got to listen to your body. If you need more days to recover, then just extend that cycle into 7 days or 8 days or whatever you need. Extra negatives are a tool that you can use to increase the intensity. Basically, you got 3 phases of strength. The weakest phase is the positive, or the lifting of the weight. That's the weakest phase. The second phase of strength is the static. You're stronger on the static. And then the third phase is the negative. Unfortunately, a lot of people think in terms of just lifting weight. So, for instance, a bench press, they've lifted the weight to the top. All right, job done. Just drop it back down and do another one. They're missing half of the rep, and possibly the most important half of the rep, because more muscle damage occurs on the negative than on the positive. And it's a damage to the muscle that the body repairs that then becomes muscle growth. So you're missing the most important part of the rep if you don't emphasize that negative part. And even when you've gone to failure on the positive part of the exercise, your muscle hasn't gone to true failure because there's still strength left in the negative. So that's why I advise sometimes doing additional negatives at the end of the set. If you've got a training partner, if you're on a machine and it's safe, for instance, you're doing bench press on a machine, you reach failure, you do a couple of forced reps, your positive strength is depleted, you failed, but you've still got something left in the negative. So you can get somebody to raise their weight to the top and lower it slowly down for a couple of reps until you can't control it. That way, you've depleted every area of the rep. In the off-season, a moderate amount of cardio I think is good for your cardiovascular conditioning. You need some decent amount of cardio to recover between your sets. So 25, 30 minutes, 3 times a week, moderate cardio, I think is good for some conditioning. It's also good for recovery from the workouts because it helps you pushing blood around the system, help get rid of the waste products from the weight workouts. I prefer to do them on days that I'm not in the gym. Or if your schedule doesn't permit that and you have to do it on the days you're weight training, I would much prefer to do it away from the weight workout. I've known for years from my own feedback that if you do cardio after weight training, it kind of interferes with the recovery. The priority is recovering from that workout and rebuilding your resources. So it's much better to do your cardio separately, and funnily enough, scientific studies are coming out now and proving this. If you do cardio after weights, your strength gains are less than if you did weights on their own. I do a small amount of ab work, but there's no additional weight. It's just body weight, short movements, crunches, reverse crunches, leg raises. Of course, if you wanted to get thicker abdominals, you could use extra resistance, but most people don't because aesthetically you don't want to build too much muscle in the midsection because it spoils your shape. So just very controlled, short movements. Basically, abdominals is just to bring these 2 points together. So sit-ups and so on, not the most effective. I found just simple forward crunches and a reverse crunch where you're bringing your hips up towards your chest and just reversing that movement. That's pretty much all I needed. Sure, you can do once a week when you're in a mass cycle, but I wouldn't recommend using extra weights because it's going to build thickness in your obliques and it's going to spoil your symmetry. I'll do several sets, just concentrating on the contraction and having more control, especially when you go on stage, controlling your abdominals and with the posing and everything. You need to be connected with the muscle to be able to control them. There's a debate, what's better, machines or free weights? Neither, They're both tools that you can use. As long as you're working the muscle, you're working it to failure. It doesn't particularly matter if it's a machine or a free weight. There's advantages and disadvantages. The advantage with a free weight, of course, we're all built differently. We're all different heights, we're all got different lengths of limbs, different attachments and everything, where a machine is just built in one way. A free weight, if you lift a free weight and I lift a free weight, it will take a slightly different pathway because our bodies are built differently. So that's the advantage of a free weight. It works with the individual's body, where a machine, you're locked into a groove. The advantage of a machine is that you can isolate the muscle without too much outside involvement, especially if you've got injuries, they're very useful. And there's more control involved. So if you want to do extra negatives and so on, of course, if you're doing a free weight bench press, it's very awkward to do extra negatives at the end. You'd have to lift the weight to the top and lower it down, and it's just not practical and it's not really safe. Whereas the machine, if you're doing a machine bench press, you can get your training partner to lift to the top and you can control it and it's safe. So There's advantages and disadvantages. I use both in my training. I use free weights, I use machines. You know, the main thing is, as long it's more like the effort that you're putting in rather than the tools that you're using. I've always worked with a training partner just because working to failure, it's not practical. If you haven't got a training partner, you at least need a good spotter, somebody that knows what they're doing. If you're going to failure with on an incline press with a free weight, for instance, if you've got a failure and there's nobody there spotting you, it's very dangerous. You could get stuck with that weight on your chest. So you need a good training partner, or at least a spotter, you know, to assist you in those exercises where it's not safe and practical to do it without a training partner. So for me, they're essential, but of course, you know, you've got to have a training partner that has the same goals as yourself. I think that's very important. You know, I can give guidelines, but obviously it varies from one person to another depending on their metabolism. I usually start with a protein recommendation. If somebody's training hard and they're trying to build muscle and put on body weight, I would recommend ballpark like 1.5 grams of protein for each pound of body weight. So if you weigh 200 pounds, for instance, 300 grams of protein a day, that's what you should be aiming for. And your body can only utilize so much protein at one time, and it doesn't stay in the system for very long. So that's why I recommend breaking that protein requirement down into 5 or 6 small meals throughout the day. And that's where a protein supplement becomes very important. That's something I've always used since I started training, because to get 300-400 grams of protein a day from solid food is very, very difficult. And you know, if you're working and so on, it's not practical to eat chicken breasts every couple of hours. So a protein supplement is very useful to get that requirement in. As far as energy requirement, carbohydrates, that's going to vary quite a bit from one individual to another. So I can give you a guideline, and basically if you're putting on body fat with that level, then you have to bring it down a little bit. If you're not gaining weight, then you have to go up a little bit. Whatever protein level you're taking, times that by 1.5 to 2. 300 grams of protein a day becomes 450 to 600 grams of carbohydrate a day. That would be a good guideline. And again, break it out throughout the day and keep a good source of carbohydrates. You know, fairly complex carbohydrates that are broken down slowly, released into your bloodstream slowly, so you don't get spikes of blood sugar and big drops. So we're talking oatmeal, brown rice, sweet potatoes, vegetables, things like that. You need fats in your diet. There was one time back when I started training where it was just high protein, carbohydrates and super low fat. And I found with a little bit more fat in my diet, definitely my strength went up, and I got better gains. You know, you're going to get dietary fat if you're eating eggs. I wouldn't recommend just eating egg whites. I would throw a few egg yellows in there. If you take all the yellows out, you're taking some of the aminos away. So let's say you're having 10 egg whites, I would say have at least 3 yolks in there as well. You know, steak, you're going to have natural fats in there, and a couple of tablespoons a day of omega fats, mixed omega fats, to make sure you're getting all the essential fats. Chicken breast, turkey breast, beef is an excellent source of protein. It's just, you know, if it's very high in fat, obviously you don't want that. But you can get, I used to get lean ground beef, almost as lean as chicken breast, and it's a better, more complete source of protein. So beef's a good source as well. So eggs, chicken breast, turkey breast, beef. Fish is fine if you like it. I'm not a big fan myself. And then a protein supplement. Those are my main sources. I used to train after 2 meals. So I'd have a big breakfast, you know, oatmeal, eggs and so on. A couple of hours later, I'd have a shake, a protein shake, maybe a banana, a small amount of carbohydrates, about an hour to hour and a half before I trained. 30 minutes before I train, I'd take a pre-workout, kind of stimulant supplement. After training, I would take a small amount of simple, quickly digested protein, like a whey isolate, along with some simple sugars, dextrose, sucrose, it doesn't matter as long as it's simple sugar. Then you're going to get that insulin reaction. Body's going to release insulin, and it's going to help push the nutrients towards the muscles that are depleted at that point. And that's a good time to take, you know, extra glutamine, creatine. If you're taking creatine, that's an excellent time to take it. You're going to absorb more right after the workout with the simple sugars. Well, I got a lot of experience with injuries, man. I had enough injuries over the years. I've learned as I went along. As a young guy, when I started, I got injuries, and there was no good advice around. I'd go to my MD, and of course, I don't know much about sports injuries. They just tell you to rest and take some anti-inflammatories. If you've got an injury, a small injury, it's good to take care of it. You know, what happens if you've got an injury, if you've got a small tear in the muscle, your body will repair that, but it repairs it with scar tissue. Scar tissue is not flexible like normal muscle tissue, it's not elastic. So if you could think about like an elastic band, if you snapped an elastic band and then stuck it together with glue, with a lump of glue, it'll be fixed, but it'll no longer be elastic, and there's a good chance that that lump of glue at some point is going to snap again. So if you get a little injury, I think deep tissue massage is the best thing to do. You get somebody in there, break that scar tissue down, bring blood into the area, and trying to get a healthy tissue back there. And do that before it becomes a severe injury. You know, that's what I've learned over the years. And you know, regular chiropractic is very helpful as well to keep everything in balance. Don't wait till you've got an injury. If you're putting a lot of stress on your body, if you're doing a lot of weight training, I think it's a good idea to have regular chiropractic care, just maybe once a month, something like that. I used to do strength because, I mean, strength is a good indication. If you're getting stronger, you're getting bigger and vice versa. So I would do body weight. I even used to do measurements, like measure my arms. Stuff might sound a bit old school, but if you've got various factors there, you can see if they're all increasing. So you could do a couple of measurements. You could do your body weight on the scales. You could do your strength levels and see how that increases from month to month, and have a goal each month. Even if this month I'm going to put on 2 pounds. If you did that every month, at the end of the year, it's 24 pounds. It's a huge gain. I didn't do pitches in the off season, but I did getting ready for a contest. Every week, getting ready for a contest. That way I could track how my body was changing, and actually helped me a lot. When I won the first Mr. Olympia in 1992, I kept that every week, pitches. And what I noticed was, like, practically 5 or 6 weeks out from the contest, I was more or less in contest shape. And I kept coming down and losing weight and losing weight. And I may have got a little harder, but what I realized is I was actually losing muscle. So the next year I was determined not to do that, and I didn't make that mistake. And that's why I was able to make a huge increase from one year to the next, like 16 or 17 pounds of muscle from one year to the next. And everyone's like, wow, how is that possible? Well, you know, I had a great year of training, so I probably did put on 5 or 6 pounds of muscle, which at a pro level, that's a great gain. But more importantly, I didn't sacrifice 10 pounds of muscle that I sacrificed the previous year. So it's really helps the learning process. Something that really helped me over the years to keep motivated is keeping a journal with nutrition, with training. What I used to do is every month write down where I'm at presently. This is my body weight. This is my nutrition. These are my max weights for 8 reps on like 10 key exercises. And then I would set myself a short-term goal, which is like, in 1 month's time, I want to do this. And it's got to be an achievable goal. For instance, if you could just add 5 pounds to your bench press in a month, if you could do that every month, then that's 60 pounds at the end of the year. That's a huge gain. So it's important to have goals, short-term goals, maybe monthly goals, and maybe a long-term goal at the end of the year, and break it down into little steps. Instead of looking at the end of the year, I want to achieve this, how are you going to get there? You've got to take small steps to get there. So monthly goals, and writing them down, I think it makes them much more powerful. What I would do before a workout, I would look at my journal, and I would keep a record of every workout as well. After a workout, I would write down, this is what I did today, you know, incline press 200 times 8 reps, and I would review that before I went to do the workout the next week. And okay, that's what I did last week, and that's my goal to beat this, you know. I did 8 reps with 200 or whatever. This workout, I'm going to do 9 reps or 10 reps, or I'm going to do the same reps with 205. Just small increments, and get that goal in your mind. Know which exercises you're going to do before you go to the gym, which order you're going to do them in, what your goals are for those exercises, rather than just wandering in the gym and thinking, oh, I'm doing chest today. What shall I do? What do I feel like doing today? And having no clear goal. If you've got no clear goal, you're very unlikely to get anywhere.